With me now, the Republican from North Carolina, Congressman Greg Murphy, who sits on the House Ways and Means Committee, which is the one that will write the details for the Trump tax cuts. Congressman, you ran our camera. You got a big night in front of you. Thanks for being with us. I truly appreciate it. Joe Khalil said, not so certain this happens, which would be a setback. What are you hearing right now?
Well, Blake, I'm hearing when I get a text on my phone that we're going to vote and what we're going to vote on. You know, the holdouts, a couple of them, I think, are going to come to reason. A couple of them, there's not enough Jesus in the Bible, as I like to say, to change these things. Again, to your point, this is a blueprint. It only sets the standard. It sets the rates and everything, or the amount of cuts or the reforms that go into each committee. Ways and Means, we're the ones dealing with the tax issue. So we're the ones that are trying to extend some of the, or all of the 2017 tax cuts. So it's about turning dials, but we have to be put into the room to be able to do it.
Why are you so certain, Congressman, that you'll get there? Because you mentioned 2017. The tax cuts did get through. But the first thing that Republicans tried that year, when they had the House, they had the Senate, and President Trump was in the Oval Office, same setup, was repeal and replace Obamacare. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
So why are you so certain that this will happen? We have some history here.
Well, Blake, because we have to. Our country is on a precipice, and the general public doesn't understand this. I wouldn't understand it if I were not in Congress. But we're in a financial precipice that if we don't curb our spending and we don't get adequate tax reform in the next 1 to 3 years to stop the explosion that we have on being on the financial cliff, that this nation will fail. We must. This is our job. We have a no-fail issue right here. We cannot fail. Some of the nuances and some of the numbers, we can turn the dials one way or the other and deal with certain reforms or certain cuts, but we can't fail on this. And the Democrats, sadly enough, are being very disingenuous about their arguments. They'd rather spend, spend, spend. They're not serious about the financial cliff that this nation is facing.
Republicans are spending also, Congressman. There's a $3 trillion hole there. I know you're going to say growth is going to pay for it, and DOGE, and maybe tariffs. Heck, we just heard from the president about a $5 million gold card, but that's a $3 trillion hole.
It is, but Blake, we wouldn't be in this spot if there had been inflationary measures that had been on in the last administration. $5 trillion in spending, causing the Federal Reserve to have to jack up interest rates, and now we pay more in interest on our debt than we do in national defense. We will grow as a nation 2 to 2.5%. That will take care of a lot of things. And rather than the direct number that we have as our debt, it really is debt to GDP ratio, and that takes into the growth that we're happening in our country. I don't personally think revenues from tariffs. Well, no, it has to be. This is not going to be 1 minute in time. This is going to be what we're doing over the next decade. If we don't do anything the next 1 to 3 years, we're in major financial problems.
Okay.
But this is something that is going to be happening over the next decade, and how we have to massage it is just turning the dials now.
So you're aware, but for our audience here on NewsNation and those listening to us on SiriusXM, the president on the campaign trail promised an extension of the tax cuts from 2017, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. The Committee for a Responsible Budget looked at all this, Congressman, and said, wait a minute, at the bare minimum, that would be close to $5 trillion. You're only providing for $4.5 trillion. It could go up to 11. And I guess it leads to the question, are you going to get to everything that President Trump promised on the campaign trail? Because it seems a little square peg, round hole.
Sure, and I think that's fair, Blake. The Social Security issue we can't deal with in reconciliation. The Senate parliamentarian would not allow that. The no tax on tips and the no tax on overtime are those things that we're going to look at. We want to be fair about this, and we want to work with the president on some of the details. He's presented things in his, during the campaign that he wants to get done. We're going to try our best to do those, but it may not be possible to get everything that he wants. Again, we're going to try to look and be fiscally responsible in our tax package when we come out of Ways and Means. There are some things, endowment tax and some of the other things that we are going to have as revenue creators.
Congressman, I know you got to run, but did I hear you there on no tax on Social Security? You do not believe that is feasible in this package?
No, it can't be done in the reconciliation rules of budget reform and in reconciliation itself. So that's off the table. That would be something that we'd have to deal with at a later date.
Wow. This year?
Well, that's what we hope so.
Okay. I know you got to run. Greg Murphy is on the House Ways and Means Committee. I appreciate you making time for us tonight. He's got to go back in and possibly vote. Congressman, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.